So I just recompiled the Fibonacci pivot indicator for the 1 hour time frame. In Strategy Tester, you can only play back the indicator that was written for that time frame, but in the real world you can have the indicator running. For some reason you cannot. Strategy Tester is running inside some kind of shell or something, and it doesn't let you. It's not real data coming in. So I set this to 1 hour, and these are the Fibonacci pivots. And when I say Fibonacci, I'm saying that the very top dotted line here is 55% or 5.5%, and the very tight orders. So I'm going to show you under the hood what's going on. The black is the pivot, and I didn't put in the one handle, so this is the way it is right now. Is like this. This is zero pivot. This is ground zero for the last hour. So the market paused there, and this is all we know as far as the last closing price. The future's unwritten. If you're going to buy on Fibonacci percentages, which are set in here at, now this is what's under the hood. The black line here is the pivot, your classic pivot. This is 2, 3, 5, 8, 13, 21, and 55 is way up here. I could go to 89, 144, all that. And that's Fibonacci. Pivots really off of this right here, the last known hour. So look how it's perfectly sitting at the 34 summation series of Fibonacci. So here's the summation series. All I did was take, if you want to go to 89, you're going to have to copy 55, paste it down here, rename it as 89, and set this to 8.9. You could also put the 1 in here. You could also change all the colors. I set them all to white except the pivots black. So I deleted everything in there. It's this now. I'm afraid to delete too much in here because I don't honestly know what the fuck's going on in this part, but it seems to compile, it seems to run. Now somebody that knows MetaTrader might say, what the fuck's this shit in here for? It's talking to nothing. But right now it's not hurting anything in the indicator. This is the Fibonacci. I call this Fib 1. So I'm going to publish this platform with the Fibonacci in there. So if you have a Fibonacci fetish, it's great for if you're going to update that all the time. The problem I have with people that are going to whip out a tool is you don't have the time to whip out a Fibonacci tool. Market's moving. I don't know about you, but I got my finger on the trigger. Like I'm being shot at. In my mind, missed opportunity is like you waited all day long for somebody to show up to deliver a package. I've never had this problem. And the motherfucker comes past, there's a window between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. and he comes in there at 6 p.m. going, dude, you weren't there. I took it to, I'm like, what, you fucking son of a bitch. I was there all day waiting for you, waiting for the setup on this trade, and how dare you? And then, I don't know what my point was. But Fibonacci is a great, the summation series made sense to me. When I saw it, I thought, well, fucking A, if you're buying at the 4618, so Tony Plummer, right? Look up Tony Plummer. Now his book costs $50, and I'm looking at it going, I got it. He's saying, I'm gonna get the fuck wait. I'm gonna get in here and I'm gonna wait till this puppy expands. So all I do is put the 55 expansion. I deleted all the objects, so you can't really rename anything in here. I realized that everything in the other code I posted was really about putting the labels on there. So you have to delete all those objects as time's going on, but this is riding along right with it. And you could make the colors fancy, but how do you build a trade plan around this? So here's the 21, 34, 55. And hopefully this is right. There might be a mistake in here. but you could make 1%, or it's a tenth of a percent, I think. When you see the asterisk, I think that's a multiplier. So we're multiplying off the pivot. It is taking the high and low into consideration, so it's totally a volatility indicator like Bollinger Bands. But Bollinger Bands is just a mess, and this is updating and deleting itself as time goes on, so you're not stuck in some type of stupid. You're getting real-time updates. See, now that perfect Fibonacci handle disappeared. If you notice, as I've been babbling along, it was here, and this also put behind here is a dotted line at 20 pips. But I didn't make it the grid. There's two versions of that indicator in here. There's one called, so this is the platform that I published the first time at hightail.com. So I'm going to publish this again with the fib. Now realize the market has moved out of this black. This is a 1 hour update. It's a swing trader. If you bought these, this right here, just because it's down, you're in, and your targets are coming up, like you're out of the scalp, right? If you're set to get out of the scalp at 2 and 3 and 4% above whatever this is, tenth of a percent, whatever the fuck, it's the summation series. And anything that I draw in here, I draw in yellow, and I can see what the fibs expansion is. So if you're into this, getting in on the speculation of, well, hey, what are you going to do down here? And constantly changing these orders. Now, this would be the ultimate EA, where it's putting an order down here that lasts so-and-so based on how many percentage away from the market you are. And when this thing scrunches down, so I'm going to go into hyper playback here, and now you can see the dynamics of the market and let this thing go through its drama. Unfortunately, from 31 to 32 is like, when it goes to 32 mode, you can't even edit. I don't even think you draw a trend line on this. Watch this 55 handle comes back to the floor, right? Perfect, right? Love it. This is based on a 1 hour. Look, it's gone now. So this is this is showing you the Fibonacci dynamics. Look how it's calling this 55 bottom here. Now look at this expansion. Are you kidding me? So here you go. Here's your Fibonacci. Oh, so it doesn't make sense there, right? Unless you could, well, it's fair value. You can call it anything you want. This is a 20 pip grid behind. And this broker does freak out on this Sunday. The indicator will drop out. But you're looking into this tunnel of logarithmic expansion when you stare into where we're at now and where we could go. Look at this 55 nailing the top again. This comes and goes. This is why people will look at stuff and say, oh, look at the setup. See how it works out? Yeah, but... And look here. But I'm looking at it in terms of when this scrunches down, you're going to get in with tighter stops. That's all I'm saying. Now, it's like, okay, I got limits. I'm in. I'm not going to touch it. We have to wait for that to play out. And hopefully you've got it set so you are getting out. Now, the spread here is, I got the spread in blue. The black is the center pivot for the Fibonacci, or the summation expansion off that pivot. You try to drill down here. I probably should put the one handle in there, but I'm using that pivot, and the scalper's world is in here. Now you got buy limits sitting here. And the deeper it goes, the further away you are. The other way to write the algorithm is to say, oh, I'm going to pick a number out here, and I'm going to have everything come back into that number so that the center, it starts down here and expands upward, right? So say there's an order cluster in a 50 and a 20 pip pocket down here. Now you could also, and you can't do it now, it's playing back too fast, but this box here is exactly, if I put a 45-degree grid on here right now, this is 20 pips per day. And people can get their brain around making 20 pips per day. It shouldn't be too hard. Now you look at the 1 hour world on this, or if you go like this, it starts to become not a perfect box. The perfect grid, square this off at 20 pips per day rate of change. But look at this thing. When it gets tight, now you can't touch it. No more stop entries. You should have cashed out on that, and you should have got tagged and bagged on maybe sell limits up there. This is super fast playback. When you're playing this back, I think about 10 times, at least 20 times reality speed. Okay, I gotta reload the template. Well, it's fucked because I fixed the scale and I can't adjust it. It's playing back too fast. So let me turn it down a skosh. Reload the template and it come back to a fixed scale. So I'm going to call this the H1 fib. This way you'll be able to, now I'm going to go for psycho playback. Look at this thing, realizing that this here is 2, 3, 5, 8, and once you realize this is 55, or you make 55 a different color, so you know where the insane prices are based on the last known pivot. But it's fun to watch, and certainly you can imagine this. And I cannot get the strategy tester to give me 5-minute and 15-minute data because apparently, I don't know. I'm running a dummy robot just so I can see the market playback, and luckily, well, the 1 hours are stable enough to do the playback. The tighter time frames, maybe there's just too much chatter and the spread doesn't make sense for the EA has written with too tight a stop, and if you try to run that, it's just going to never load the data because it just never could even get a trade going, maybe. Who knows? Look at this thing. So at times, you can see how this looks like an amazing, look, it keeps nailing this price here. On Fibonacci, on that price handle. Well, but you knew that was a good price anyways, and how many times does it revisit that? See, once again, we're nailing that ratio. Yeah, let's just move a little bit. Pretty psychotic. Now, your sell limits with scalps built in had to be up there, or you're riding this breakout of this low volatility because you just put in like blind stops. Look at this beautiful 55 nailing this again. Not so much here. So you're going to distort anything you see and go, oh yeah, if you would have bought there. But you would have bought there anyways based on, it's just a damn good turnaround price. But you're looking down like a tunnel this way as far as, if I put the 89s in there. Now maybe the 89 handle, which would be probably down here right now, look like a great place to put a buy limit, but it would anyways. But that's pretty neat. I could put the 89 on there and the 144. So if you really, that would be 144 pips per day if you drew your angle. I think I can draw at this rate, but you're talking about stuff like this. If you do the math, 10 bars down would be 200 pips a day. 10 bars in an angle box like that. I don't think it's going to let me draw anything. It's playing back too fast. But here's your trend line to break. And amazingly, it just fell into that decent channel envelope. So they've trapped the bears down here. And when this Fibonacci tightens up, now Sunday night's not going to paint until the day's over, I think here. Something about Sunday night destroys the EA playback. So it wasn't about the indicator. Here was your people be selling up in that supposedly, and the bulls are banging on this channel. So I have to wait for the end of that day. But you can't see it, but the ATR is small here. Within 20 pips, buy stop bots would have made money on that. Even a doji bot, a dumbass, I don't care where the fuck the market's going script is going to work great at any doji. So I was running sells on a doji. Another thing, if you run a doji buy and sell breakouts, you're not committing to any. Here, so at the end of the day, it comes back in. So now we're back to the fibs. But this is holding this trend line. Right, you have to say that. This was your first trend line you could draw. Realistically. Let's go into paint mode to do that. Right here was your first trend line. This is where you're looking to buy. Maybe it does line up on these fib handles. It's constantly changing. If those orders were deleting themselves, I can go back to here and see where. Now if I put horizontal lines in and I save all the retests here horizontally, mark that off, and see how many times you retest there. But it's really going to be about, okay, now you can run tighter stops. Now you've got breakout orders. Well, now you can't touch it. Maybe you put limits way deep, way high, and let that play out. Okay, now maybe you got filled in sell limits up there. Well, maybe you scalped out. Now that was a great trade. It came ripping up there, and ever-changing fib levels. Here's the 2-pip zone, and you can see the scalper's view. Even on the 1 hour, you see here's the trap entry. So if your grid's laid out like that, it's going to take a real plunge to get filled at the 55-yard line or the 89 or the 144. And that's also why these people are like, yeah, we're making money. Well, fucking, of course. They put a 30-pip stop on an 80-pip profit, and they just happen to get picked up either on a stop or on whatever, and you're just getting snagged and filled on trades that are, look at this trap up here. Wow. Sell limits at that top. Certainly if you had a Fibonacci, 1 hour Fibonacci thing, and you're like, oh yeah, I bought on that day. See, it works. Look, I bought right there on that limit, just like you told me. Now it changed. Now you're going to buy more down there. Do the same trade. Well, based on that level of expansion, now I probably should put the 20-pip grid in pretty big black. This is another thing. How does the Fibonacci fit into the hard stop that you wrote in your script? If I go down here and set it to a real fat line, the thickness, and then I'm going to have to wait for the white lines on the, say, the 13%, and your trade really, you're at the mercy of the spread here. So the spread is the 2 blue lines. I think I fixed the spread at a bad spread of 3 pips on here. So also, if you're playing this back and you're watching it, you really want to set the worst conditions so that you take into account that there's slippage. So maybe you set the spread at 8 pips or something. I'm looking for the thickness of the line here. Oh, wrong one. Okay, so I'm running this one. So the 2 different versions in here, and this I set down at the bottom. There's a color pick. So there's one called handles, which has no price landing on the right side of your screen, and the colors in the middle here. So black, and then I'm going to pick like 6. So now I'm thinking in terms of what script I'm going to write. I'm at 6 on the on this, and then I can set this to dotted line or dot dash dot. If you come in here, for some reason this one lets you change the style. I don't know if I could put style into the other ones, but just more work naturally. But you can type solid in here. But if you click on this, it's going to add on right there. So I'm just going to go with solid. It doesn't matter if once you go past a thickness of 1 or go past thickness of 2, it's going to automatically go solid. But I guess if you're anal, you're going to be putting this to solid. There's also dash, dot, dash or something, or like Morse code in there. So I compile that, and now this is the 20 pip. profit window. And this is just a percentage off the pivot. Now maybe my pivot needs to be not black, but you can see where the congestion is. Now it just went to insane expansion levels, but see how you would have got filled down here. Now this, you would have to write a script that buys in a capture zone of at least in a Fibonacci. Oh, now you'd have to put the Fibonacci in the script now too. In other words, you really don't want to in other words, you want to, when this tightens up, you want to change your style of trading. And then when the market plunges, unless you're going to, if you've got 4 hours to do it, yeah, you just put your order down there. So it'll keep you out of trouble. And of course, maybe you hand place orders, but these are still good prices anyways. But this fulfills the need to think that you're somehow, this fulfills the whole point of Fibonacci is to risk 0.2, right? Whatever your fib handle is, 38%. You're risking 38% to make 423%, or 400 and this 2618 shit. You're trying to risk 38 to make 2.618. That's the whole idea. Okay, see, Sunday night screws this thing up. But look at this weak trend here. It's a classic. And they trap these people in the London session, come down here and rape them. Okay, look at that. Take out the high of the day. Complete auction. Comes down here, traps these guys. Comes up here, traps these guys. Who's making money? Not the trend traders. Wow. This is a lot of pips. 20 pips. This is like Euro still at 112 here. I don't know if it's melting down. But yeah. Jeez. Okay, ATR's got to tighten up. Maybe you have to set this to different colors so you can really see the very edge, 55 expansion away from the current price. Still too hot and hairy to trade with anything other than I mean, you got to be trading this with a 30 pip stop. Oh. You have to be on the 15-minute chart. Okay, you could have had hand placed a buy limit there, and one here waiting to get filled. Okay, they're filling you, and you're scalping off of this right now, realizing they could go through the floor at any moment and just keep going lower. Now they just keep feeding off this like a goddamn bird on meth. Look at that. How many times are they going to dip into that before they pick up enough fake breakouts to the downside and then rip it up? Wow, look at that volatility. See, you're thinking trade plans here, and then you can only imagine what the 5-minute volatility bot is viewing as far as these pivots. And I got set to 1 hour here, so this is pretty conservative as far as if you only placed orders on these, how are you going to blow the account up? You're not going to get filled on half of these. Here's a good fill. 20 pips deep to make 40 pips. Oh, so you had to scalp something there with a 5 pip stop. You would have never... You might be right in the long run if we never take this level out here. Okay, we're still waiting to get the party started on the upside. No, we're going to go crush people. So see how that is? And look at, maybe this is the... oh, no, see? And your buy stops, are they getting filled? Wow, not here. So these buy stops evaporate. Now the... Sunny net's going to come. It's going to destroy the indicator. But now this is just without the indicator, thinking in terms of just pure like, wow, would I put a 20 pip breakout in here to make? Now they would have stopped you here. If you're But look at your this is risking 38 to make 1618. Here, sideways. G, path of least resistance. How many times have we heard that one? I don't know, people don't talk like that anymore, I suppose. I don't know. There you go. Big hole filling up there. Now the swing trader bought like a bat out of... This is the fall out of bed trade. That was Sunday. Crazy unfair, totally unfair prices. Coming back to revisit this triangle here. Oh, the indicator's coming back on. So the indicator's back on. Go look at the big picture. Oh, jeez. Let me zoom out. I guess I just driving that too fast. Okay, so I zoom out on this thing. Okay. It wouldn't let me zoom out. So I slowed it down to almost real time compared to what that was all about. But look at all this stuff. And look at this thing. That Sunday night fell out of bed there. Oh. Not only does it engulf this whole thing, it comes up to the top of this. The 55, I'm sure the... but this is an ever-changing indicator. And we would have just drawn a line there anyways. Let's see if I can play it. I have to zoom out. Now I'm going to speed it up. Oh, this is really quite the expansion. Look at the ATR's change here now. From this perspective, you're like, oh my God. Well, look at that expansion. You have to step back on that. See, now maybe your trade plan is to buy on 5 to 10 pip breakouts, or buy at the market with a 10 pip stop, buy and sell at the market with a 10 pip stop. Look at this thing. Now the 50. Now here's a 55 level up here now. Now just jumped. Now look at the ATR, just went psycho tight. Total meltdown breakout there. People made money on that. That's it for the breakout traders. Man, that killed right there. Now they trapped the bears. Look at the 55s dead on. Now it's gone. But you would have had a fucking number that you would have had lying there anyways. Okay, now we're breaking a trend line. That was some kind of news event, obviously. That was Thursday. This is Monday. So it's pretty stupid. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Wednesday is the big stop hunt trap. You can't fucking believe the price. Then they come up here, floor. Then the news comes out and they just go nuts. And maybe they're going to go down here. And maybe they are going to go up here. Go back to the... ooh. See? Look at that. Oh. Now that's the trade. You got buy limits down here based on this. Wow. Set it and forget it. It's coming. They're going to spike it. They might even go through the floor now. I don't know how this plays out, but look at all this, all these pips, 20 pip grid there. So here's Monday. Could it go lower? Would you buy lower? So the Fib Master's saying, to delete this stuff. Anyways, look at that expansion. Man, that's crazy. Volatility. Just shows to go you that there's some crazy moves in here, man. They're going to shear your brain off. And you also make a ton of money. Just look at that. Now that looks like a 1 minute chart actually. This is what What if you had a 1 minute chart and the news just came out? This is what it looks like. Imagine having orders in your hand if these were 2-pip handles instead of 20-pip handles. This would be a 1 minute chart. I can't get the robot to play back a 1 minute chart. So what you would do is take this exact same script. Right now it's set to 1 hour. You set it to 15 minutes. It's a whole different world of, like, you're in the market now at a rate of change, of volatility expansion that is so you're like literally in the market for maybe a minute to 3 minutes to 10 minutes to 14 minutes to some, just. And then I suppose if you wanted to make 20 pips, you might have to be in the market for a half hour or 4 hours, depending what you're trading. I don't think that's unrealistic to have a target. Now look at the ATR, just went nutsoid on the 1 hour. It engulfs the whole top and bottom of last week, and now we're talking about, look at that. I mean, are you kidding me? So if you put the 89 on here and the 144, but how does that matter to what you're, if you're only trading off these two banger handles and you don't care about 55 way out in space, reload the whole template. So that doesn't matter so much. Okay, so here, you just live around town here. And you'll never see your 55s hit. You're out here on the 2, 5, 8, 13s. You're out. If you're riding along on the 1 hour train and you are long here, you would have your stop set pretty damn tight. Even the stop bot here made like 60 pips on that pullback. Reload the damn template. So it's going to come in here Sunday night. So this is 20 pip grid, and the wheels are coming off this thing. This is when the euro was on fire. Apparently, I don't know. So people that build fixed pip robots that can't adapt to the dynamics of the market, they're going to get crushed. Any EA has to be able to say, well, what's the ATR? Should we launch a tight stop, or should we? Which wave are we trading? Are we going to get in right now, gun to your head trading, or are we going to wait at the edge of the universe to get picked up on a asteroid that may or may not come near us? Look at this thing screaming around the map. So if you've got scalp scripts in there, but you're babysitting this thing, even though it's the 1 hour, unless you're trading on limits, and I suppose you don't care. Hard to really trade on stops because you're really trading at the market, I think. And that, like right there, that kickback, and now this 55 is below the and if you just put in a 100 pip grid here, which you might have to do, you're looking at the 55 is sitting at the 100 handle or the 200 handle out. Now I suppose if you kept a log next to you and you're like, damn, when this thing gets, but it's just giving you this cool looking volatility ratio, really. I certainly wouldn't want to have to break out a fib tool right now. That's all I'm saying. If you had to go up here and say, well, give me a fib tool and I'm going to, let's see here now. I mean, my God, the thing's done. The move's over. That volatility it's like a storm. You've only got so much time to run. Like if the market's in a doji, you're like, uh-oh, we've been sitting still too long. And look at this doji breakout just before this retrace. That was amazing. Let's zoom in here. Yeah, that was, look at this breakout of this quiet zone. Nice rally into Asia. Actually, Asia started back here. This broker's off by 2 hours. But it just wouldn't matter if you were only trading the ATRs here. Let's see if I can zoom out. Look at this thing. Nicking the bottom down here. Woof. This is where the bottom drops out in the euro, maybe. So 108, big meltdown could come right here. Easy. Very easy. We just took out this floor here. Yeah, the robot sold. Look at MetaTrader has sold into that and got its ass kicked because they're just flirting with this price here. The big money's going to shell when we hit there. Oh, here we go through the floor. Take off this. See the whole data feed. No, take off through the floor here. Now look at the ATRs change here. 55's banging on the top of this. Oh boy. So max speed playback. Wow, look at that. Amazing. Okay, the ATR just went psycho wide now. So we could get some serious moves out of this zone. There's a lot of people happy. Here we go. Somebody got in there. So if you put a 100 pip handle on here, and you'd have to say, well, if the 21 handle gets to 100 pips away from current, and my targets are on that line. So now you really would say, if you accumulated down there when the ATRs are small, you're holding on to this right now. When the ATRs get higher than the 55 goes beyond the top of the chart, then you have to drop down a smaller time frame. So now maybe you could get out of something. The market just quieted down. Now it's still nuts. They're still cutting through. If this is a big trap, then okay, so you get out here. Here now, ATR is super small compared to that big up move. And maybe it's over for the day. And now, when it was tight there, you're in on something now. But here's where you would get whipsawed if you didn't have some filter for, say you're only running 3 orders, a super tight stop, a medium stop, and a wide stop. And you'd have to have some kind of discipline not to press the super wide one and get overexcited about the setup. But here we are stalled out at this floor, and the longer this goes sideways, so this 24 hours here, and the doji bots are making money there because you bought and sold that top right there. So I've had some doji stuff that, given the right stops, it's wonderful. Doesn't work now. Market's got too big of ATR, so you're waiting for those dojis to cash out. You're waiting on the sidelines for your volatility bot to play out, and then maybe you got limits down here. I don't think you put sell limits above. If you're short this thing, you wanna let the doji. Now the ATR is bigger, and it's all limits. Now, hopefully you've cashed out of your shorts. Wow, super small ATRs there. Definitely going to be crazy. We could go rocketing up now. This floor, if this does not hold as super small, it's the pre-London session now. Here we go. And you could watch every currency pair play back, and you're going to say, wow, looks like it was all my moving. Oh, now you can't touch it. Whatever you got in with those small ATRs for all your doji scripts and you're getting chopped, Okay, maybe now you can cash out, get back in. Stuff's calmed down a little bit. Certainly fascinating. Definitely love logarithmic. This is the only, I don't know the logarithmic numbers to plug in here yet, so I haven't really spent the time on this indicator, or this pivot expansion thing. But you can see that it would be, you could also just put in two numbers there. I mean, it doesn't have to be all these numbers. And just say, oh, 1%, you know, whatever. And watch that thing shift. I guess it's cool to look at the, how it has this kind of like off into vanishing point to it, right? It's starting at 1, 2, and the summation expands. If you go all the way to 144, then you have the gross, the 12, you know, by 12 you're in the GAN thing. That may be too much to look at. So right now you'd have to add 89 and 144 on there, right? 55 plus 89 is 144. 34 plus 55 is 89. The fib percentages are a little difficult. 38%. Now I know the other way to go would be put that percentage in there. You could do that too. I think that's how the guy originally did it. And that's going to change the whole way this indicator looks also. But it's certainly fascinating to watch him play back. Look at the 55 perfectly at the bottom there for a moment. Now, this would be the moment of truth. The longer we go sideways here, and these bears lose the ability to, and we're probably coming up on a channel too. You draw a trend line. I can't draw it on this fast playback. You can put a trend line here. Can't do it. I can do it in here. So this would be the channel. You know, obviously, this comes down here and just traps here. Naturally, you'd be like, wow, really? Top becomes a bottom back in here, and now this is the floor it's supposed to hold. If we weasel our way here, and then it's like, oh boy, another run to here, another trap, another pullback. Obviously. And look at that. The scalpers pulled off of that thing. And this failed to hold the floor down here. Here comes Monday. Complete panic, freak out. Engulfing the whole week, we filled this whole void in here. All the stops even the goofball that put a buy stop there and like, I'm going to get the train, it's going to turn around. And my moving average is like, dude, yeah, how about buying down here too? Like, how about every top become a bottom on the way back up this gravy train? Unbelievable. Just psychotic amounts of opportunity. Okay, now we're into Tuesday. Buy limits are down here at this last known top. Sell limits are on the wicks. But that was quite the pullback. Fierce. Here we go. Big. What a surprise. It's going to sell off before it goes up. I can't even believe it. So right here, buy limits on every one of those. You're never getting filled. You're only getting filled on the ones that are 1-2% away. And the stops. So now you got stops and limits running super tight at this point. Okay, now you don't touch it. Let it play out. Put your limits in really wide. So you have wide limits. You have narrow limits. If you had somebody that could trade, if you had somebody that could place orders for you, and that's the whole problem. Everybody's got ideas and nobody's got, I got to go play with the band tonight. And I'm telling you, it's hilarious. People are like, "Oh, it wouldn't be great if we." I'm like, "Yeah, dude, get out a fucking ruler. You gotta get this shit queued up." you can't imagine all the pips you're going to make unless you get the goddamn ruler out, unfortunately. So all the tunes you're going to write that nobody gives a fuck about your lousy music. I don't know. Art's free. If somebody next door can whistle, hopefully you're not going to copyright infringe them. Wow, he's playing a hit song out of his mouth. You can see a trend line breakout here, pull back, but in the end, it's about getting the right time frame, right stop. You could also just imagine this is the 1 minute chart. So if this is 1 minute chart, you're going to be buying every 5 to 10 pips, say every 2 pips. Every 2 pips. Order lasts for 15 minutes. Buy stops last for 15 minutes. Market orders that you only launch every 15 minutes based on it's down, I'm buying. It's down, I'm buying. Doji. Look at this ATR just go nuts. See, now you put dojis in here. You don't know what's going to happen, right? That continues. It may continue, it may retrace. So as soon as that ATR gets super small right here, put in non-directionals or directionals. Look at that thing. Definitely the most fascinating thing I've ever fucking seen in my life. Whether you're making money or not, if you're just watching this saying, what would I do if? What do I do now? If it had gunned your head every hour that ticked by, like you're in one of these Saw movies, right? If you don't guess which way the market's going to go in the next 30 seconds, I'm going to cut off a finger. You're going to come up real quick with a trade plan. And we're like, you lost, but it's like, okay, just keep going. You got plenty of bullets left, right? Nobody's going to go to the practice range and not run through thousands of dollars of ammo before they learn how to fucking shoot. So if any of you, buddy, shot a bow and arrow and hurt your arm on the string, you'd be like, okay, this is what it takes. And of course, oh, look at this ATR just go psycho small. So now it's like, wow. Now imagine on the half hour, you're launching scripts and you're in right now on either retrace or continuation or just a scalp. But here goes the retrace. Well, that was enough of a retrace there. I think you see made money. And having that order in your hand right now, you have a scalp order. You're in an ATR breakout here. Well, I just cashed out into that 5 or 8 or 13 fib. So you're just rehearsing and built around a 20 pip. Now you're up, you're up fucking 80 pips on this trade, right? From that small ATR. Okay, now it's like, forget about it. You're on limits. Way the fuck up there. First time the 55-yard line has been above going back 5 days. So what do you think the bears are thinking? They sold up here and they did not take profits on this. Now they're getting clobbered. So let your profits run. Another bullshit line. It's all contextual. Look at the smash back now. Look at him just totally annihilate people. But you didn't get on any ATR got small there. You could actually launch a doji and made money. Now you put dojis in right here. I mean, small ATRs compared to what? Okay, this is Sunday night. This is Monday. So you could be, you don't have to trade till Tuesday. You put buy limits in, right? Sell limits right now. Back towards the mean where we're at, and buy stops when the ATR gets small. And maybe your buy limits are tight. But that's just, they're all maybes based on what your comfort zone is and how much you want to win or lose. If you're betting a sandwich, it's different than if you're betting a car. Always, no matter who you are, the richest person in the world doesn't want to lose $10, or they wouldn't be rich. You know, the people that are all these old fogies that don't buy dumb shit like a bunch of toys, and they just got a bunch of money. I suppose that's the argument. The old fogey argument is buy some gold in my hands. I got it in my hands. Okay, so ATR is small there, so you got your doji scripts running now. Market's got to go somewhere. Oh, it went up. Who cares, right? Hopefully you scalped out there. I can have this play back on the half hour. But then I guess your order's got to... Now, how long does your order last on these trades now? Just because you're on the 1 hour and you're on the 34 handle out there. And if you waited every hour to drop a grid, a linear grid, and you're like, yeah, I don't care. I mean, it's cute that you're looking at this Fibonacci, but you're probably not going to get filled on these 55 handles on your limits. You can see it's really a target maybe for the from the breakout standpoint. So the ATR gets small, maybe that's your target, and maybe it is a future reversal. Now here the 34 looks like a good place to sell. ATR is small here. Now you just got in on this completely non-directional trade here. See, now your limits might have got filled at the 21-yard line. Once again, small ATRs, you put in a doji script there. Look at your winning and you don't know why. It's going down. It could have retraced. No, it kept tanking. Now it's too late. You can't do any stop trading now. You have to wait for whatever you're stuck in to play out. Let the market do what it's going to do. Let that play out. Okay, ATR is small now. Maybe you could put doji in. Hey, look at complete retrace. Now, if it does a complete retrace, now you can't do anything with stop orders. So see, they trapped you down there a little bit. Now you're... that 21 and the 821.13 was your take profits, and now there's nothing you can do but put in limit orders. So if you didn't scalp out of something there, you let this whole thing go. See, now you're actually making money on the short side. Now you have to put in a doji script again. Another hour, dojis. So you really having to wait. Here it goes. Now you just put in a big fat order with a tight stop right there. Right here too. Another big monster order with tight stops. Now I wouldn't trade it. Just now you really can't do anything. Now if you're in all the margin you've got available now, you'd have to wait for this to make money or get stopped out. I guess this is where the discipline comes in. So you really can't touch this thing. Maybe if the ATR drops so the 55 was below the high, right at the high of the day. So maybe you're going to pick a number, right? When the 13% gets near the high of the day, I limit my entries to X based on that. Okay, right now super tight, you're going to put buy stops and sell stops in maybe. If you think it's going up, put in buy stops. But you don't have, you can only think criteria right now, buy stops, sell stops, buy stops, sell stops, both. So doji means you're just going to bracket it here, bracket the market. Now here I'd be trading pretty big. I'd be in major stop strategy right now, breakout strategies. In like Now you can't touch it. Whatever happens, happens. You bought and sold like you can't believe. Now your biggest enemy is going to be if the market whips around before it finally makes a decision. Oh, see, now your scalps had to make something. But you made more money on those sells. Now you can't touch it because the ATR is too big. Maybe you're up so big right now, you're like, oh, well, get out. ATR is small. Launch the doji script. Now you can't do anything. Waiting to get filled. 55 is touching the high from 8 days ago. The 55 is touching the high from. Now you just really can't touch it. Okay, now you can put your non-directional right there. Non-directional doji bot comes in, and he's added to your position in whichever direction it's going to continue. Now here's the critical. Do we blow through this top? Or is this where people sell? Looks like I'm going to blow through the top. So really small ATRs, you can just see it on the screen without that fib thing. You're making money on the sell side. Waiting for the ATR to quiet down. That's a 20 pip grid, so you got say running 5-10 pip stops now. Okay, you bought that 20 pip with you got 20 pip stops to make 30, 40, 50, 60, 80 pips now. Still waiting for Tuesday to come, but you can see here the ATR is too big to put any stops in. Let whatever you've locked into on that hedge play out. Looks like we want to go after the high from last week now. Okay, now you put in your buy and sell stops. Now you don't do anything. And hopefully you're out of something, and that now you don't do anything on stops. It's all limits. And here you have to be in the middle zone. Now here, tighter stops. So when the ATR drops to whatever you picked, and just put I suppose you just put one number for each key. So this is the key for the 1% ratios. This is the key for the 2% ratios. And so when the market really heats up and you're like, damn, this fucker is going up, and you know that if you hit this other button, you're going to risk 15. The next button's 20 pip stops. And you can see, instead of Fibonacci stuff, you've got a linear grid. I'm going to do a linear version of this where it's just nothing but good old-fashioned 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Overlaid on top of, say, 100 pip handles, whatever. I don't know what it's going to look like, honestly. Or you just say, different colors for each one. This key is for that color. You know, it's a bottomless pit, right? If you're trying to set this up for telling somebody, look at when you see where that blue thing is, and then you count down how many handles. When that blue is on this, hit this button. ATR breakout, it's got to be the dumbest trading in the world. So here, doji script's like crazy now, right now. Wednesday's coming. Looks like we could pop through the top and then trap people up there. More doji scripts. Okay, nothing now. Wait for it to play out. Here comes the opening of Wednesday, and London's about to open. Here we go up. Okay, now you can't touch it. Waiting for everything to play out that you've loaded into on that triangle flag that's the day before you. Okay, now maybe you're cashing out, putting in some non-directionals or sells. Now you're putting in non-directional. You're adding on to it, whether you like it or not. So the non-directional theory is that when the ATR is small there, you're just getting in more. And you're still long. Now you don't do anything. You let whatever's already committed to by sheer volatility to play out, which is very difficult. And look at that thing right up against the high from 4 weeks ago, 5 weeks ago. Wow, look at this thing cut through all that void above. Okay, now the ATR finally dropped off. You might want to dump out, put in non-directionals there. Now you're making money on the short side here. Low volatility. Okay, a lot of doji scripts there. Complete rip back. Okay, very tight. Look at non-directional. Are we going to go up or down? Fuck, you can't touch it now. So you let that go. And lo and behold, you're making money on the sell side. Now I can see doing this on a 5-minute chart. I think I get a kick out of that. I'm imagining this is a 5-minute chart actually. So you can see how you'd have to have 2 pip stops to make 8 pips. And you just don't give a fuck where it's going. Now you put in stops. Non-directional. Okay, now maybe you don't touch it. Whatever your criteria is, whatever your script you wrote stop-wise is. Now you're back to the obvious top became a bottom, but do we blow through and go psycho auction? Or it just cuts all the way through the bottom now? They've actually trapped these people at the high from 2 weeks ago. Maybe that's the top became a bottom. Now we're going to go cutting north really hard. So you would have got in here on stops. Now nothing. You're waiting to take profits. Now you get on a buy and sell stop maybe. Certainly if you can predict where the market's going, you'd probably make more money. Say you just put in buy stops now. Buy stops only. Wow, super tight. For a second there, we had the ATR smaller than the whole fucking day. So it was a record low ATR there. And your non-directional orders just made money on that little pullback. Had you the right targets, of course, for all that. Or when the ATR gets small, it puts on a hedge at the market. Another way to make it more scalp orientated. So if you did think this was going up, you're a genius for only running buy stops right now. And as they smash it back, you're going to look like a fucking idiot. So, well, you got the buy limits down there to capture the psycho expansion. So I'm going to post this as a comment. The way this indicator is built right now, black is the pivot, and it's going to the 55 summation on the very outside of here. And you see the doji scripts right there. And if you're looking at it like this, we're waiting for Tuesday to come before it comes on. But you just put 2 forward slashes in front of any of the notated handles and the fib handles, and it's going to turn them off. So if you just want 55 in there and 34, and if you do that, you're probably going to want to make it a 15-minute version of this thing. So right there, your doji script would have launched, and they either trapped you to the downside. If you have the wrong stops in here, you're totally going to be screwed. If you over now here, if you had a wider, and I can't see the background pips here too well, but you're talking about running 20 to 40 pip stops to make 80 to 100 pips right now. The way this market, the wheels are off this thing right now. And this is 80 pip plunge here. This is probably some NFP bullshit. So the euro's not like that lately. If the euro moves 80 pips, people are like, what the fuck? Yeah, so it's a completely different world here on this playback. Way back. At least it's August of some year in the past. Look at this now. This is the 1 hour. Big. Now there would be no. You couldn't do the buy stop thing. Now here you put on a. Right there you put on the stops. Non-directionals there. A little continuation. Hopefully you made enough money on this expansion. Look, the 34 is sitting dead nuts on the top of that. Now the 21 handles on the bottom here. Small ATRs, run up doji script there. We'll scalp back. Another doji script launch. Now you wait. Now you can't do anything because it's too big. No more buy stops, sell stops there. Again. Now again. Now don't touch it. Now put buy stops, sell stops. Bracket it, let it go. There you go. So you're always taking something off the table inside that. And if you're waiting every 5 minutes to wait for the 5-minute ATRs to drop tight, you definitely have that, the view of the 20 pip world, the 100 pip world, the 300 pip world, and you can even trade breakouts on a 4-hour chart if you just hand place them. They last all day. You don't know how far it's going to go. You don't know how violent the breakout's going to be, or how unviolent it'll be. It's just like nothing but a trap, and you're fucked. So that's going to happen. And on the big moves, though, you know there's going to be a lot of controversy just before the decision's made. Look at this Sunday night. Now, monster retrace. Wait, 114 on this currency right now. Look at this panic. Wow. So had you, and mind you, you have to have like psychotically 60 pip, but you can keep pressing that button every 4 hours, say, with a 40 pip stop to make 60 pips, 40 pips, 100 pips, and now this ATR is so big here you can't even do anything. You're waiting for this whole thing to fulfill its if I can't even see back far enough to see all the data here. It's all a zoom out mode. Look at the breakout here. It's a total non-directional, like, oh, I'm sure people selling into that like you can't believe. Oh, it can't go any higher. Look at that. Jesus. Okay, so here comes Tuesday. But this is immense. This is 300 pips up. Immense. Shear your head off. Look at the pullback. Brutal. Your half-hour robot's making way more money than your 1 hour robot. 1 hour robot's got to be risking way more pips. Can't take advantage of that early burst move. 15-minute robot's cleaning up. But the spread's getting in its way. Okay, here comes the volatility thing. So you got in last hour, now you're not doing anything, and you made money to the downside there. Now you put bracket here, hedge it. Lock a hedge in with small ATRs, and it's definitely fascinating. So that's a a fun thing to watch unfold. I love it a lot more than a moving average. Volatility expansion off the wicks, just too funny to watch that playback.